All right, welcome back to another edition of High School Sports Talk. Into the high school football season we go. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby. You can find my other podcast, the Kirby on Sports podcast, www.kirbyonsports.com. I also run High School Sports Talk, and we have the usual Dan Gloster and first timer to the podcast, Mike Optoff. Mike is Dan's new broadcast partner. So, gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. Ophi, welcome to the podcast, first and foremost. I hope Dan hasn't been annoying you too much for 3 weeks of the season.
Definitely not, man. Definitely not. I hope I haven't been bothering him too much. I'm sure it's a little bit of an adjustment for him not having Ken to help. But, yeah, happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
I haven't called Mike Ken in 2 weeks, so
yeah, not since week one, man. It's you've been
week one. It was a S show, but after that, it was all Mike Optoff. So
hey, great job.
All right, we have a lot to get into, gentlemen. First and foremost, your game was supposed to be James Wood at Skyline, but Skyline had some COVID issues. I'm not really sure what that pertains, but I assume something having to do with somebody testing positive or some sort of protocol being broken. I know in high school, there is a full 10-game season for these teams, but to see a COVID situation happen in this Skyline team having to postpone, that must just set them back a little bit. I'll start with you here, Dan. First and foremost, when you heard the news, I'm sure you were rushing around to find somebody else to cover. But I mean, for Skyline, they're losing one game out of the season. That could affect their standings in a way, something like that.
I mean, the points that you would lose by not playing that game. Of course, if you win a game, that's lots of points for you in the power ratings. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was – obviously it wasn't their bye week, so maybe there's a chance that they can make up the game during their bye week. I don't know if they would choose to do that or not. But, yeah, if you play one less game, that's definitely going to hurt the chances to make some points, and that's how the playoffs are determined, by those power ratings points.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting because I read that James Wood slated on Wednesday to go down to Pulaski County, which I heard was a very good opponent, and Pulaski was set to play Bluefield, and that game got canceled. I'm not sure why, and both teams switched tapes on Wednesday, and they played on Friday. And what a very good matchup. James Wood beating Pulaski County in the final minutes of the game, 34-33.
It is Pulaski, Josh.
Pulaski, okay. Thank you.
He's a native, man. He would know.
Yeah, I grew up there. Mike already knows that. All these blowouts, Mike's finding out all these things about me that he could probably care less, but it's something to fill time because these games are just getting so crazy. But yeah, Pulaski. So I didn't know about the Bluefield thing. So I'm sure, no doubt, that's COVID too. So Pulaski they didn't want to lose a game. So I mean, hey, it's a phone call, and they apparently James Wood got some help from one of the local bus companies, so they didn't have to take school buses, which is nice. So, but yeah, they made it happen, and kudos to them, and kudos to Pulaski for hosting them, and fantastic game when it came down to the last about a minute and a half, and Wood went ahead and able to hold on. So, I mean, and as far as confidence goes, man, that you got to believe that James Wood is feeling some real good mojo right now about themselves, and that's got to be very powerful for a bunch of high school kids that pretty much don't really know a whole lot about winning. James Wood, they just haven't had a whole lot of success, but they're poised to have a really good season.
we were talking earlier about how James Wood comes off that big win against Sherando, then immediately after has a bye week, which I thought would sort of give them more time to practice for their next opponent, obviously, but yet they're coming off that big high and they have a week off. But it seemed to not affect them in any way, shape, or form.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a little strange to have a bye week in week 2. I mean, I don't know if, I don't see that too often, but I feel like it would kind of hurt you to just play one game and then have another week for a break. I mean, you're so anxious to get the season started, especially after you haven't played for so long. And yeah, I guess you're right. It didn't affect him too much. I think the whole COVID issue with Skyline and I guess Pulaski too, it's just another one of those things you have to deal with nowadays. It's just another factor, a part of these games. And, I think when this all happened, we didn't think it was going to last that long, or, at least I didn't. And here we are. It's still kind of intervening with local sports and even professional sports a little bit too. So, yeah, we're just going to have to see how this season, how it goes along with all this COVID stuff too. So.
All right. So the first game on your weekend doubleheader, switching that game up to Sherando versus Martinsburg. Sherando losing to James Wood and Jefferson to start the season. Sherando, this is their second out of 3 West Virginia opponents, back to back to back. They play Musselman next weekend. Obviously, from the score 58-7, it looked like Martinsburg, even though they do not have Dave Walker anymore, they are still that storied franchise that is talked about every single year, and they end up finding a way back into the state championship, if not winning it, which they usually do win it. So, Mike, I'll start with you since it's your first week on this podcast. First and foremost, how is it stepping into that role, into the booth? What was it like for you? Because I know you played high school football. What was it like from a broadcaster's point of view, just watching high school football and getting a chance to call it?
Well, I guess that's kind of my only experience with high school football is just from playing it. So that's kind of my addition to the broadcast, is what I can add from my experience. And, I don't have much experience with broadcasting games from the booth. So, yeah, just adding that experience level. And then, if you want to talk about that game in particular, Martinsburg, Sherando, I haven't seen Martinsburg play. I don't think I've play. So, I think we played 7, and, that's not really much to say just from that. But, yeah, what a team they got up there, man. Just a lot of talent. And I think me and Dan talked about it during the game. Just you're good for so long, and that kind of legacy of what's expected from you is just passed down through the upperclassmen to the lowerclassmen. You can clearly see that with Martinsburg. They just, they just pound the opponent. They like to hit. And seeing Sherando just play on their heels a little bit, it's a little surprising for me, because I always felt like that legacy was always passed down to us. Because, when I was a freshman, our seniors went to the state championship, and it's just like, that's kind of what was instilled with us. And it was it's so rewarding to see high school football from way up top there in the press box. When you were down there for 4 years, and now we're up there, and it's just it's really rewarding. It's really cool. I love it so far. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing thing. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Still trying to get a flow, trying to learn as much as I can from Dan there. He's a veteran. He's so good at what he does. And all the people that I know that have been listening have commented on that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Awesome.
Well, wait till you see how much fun it is and we actually have a good game, Mike.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. For sure.
So Dan, I will turn it to you, being the veteran, and you've seen this Martinsburg team pretty much year in and year out, because Sherando usually always faces them as one of their West Virginia opponents. I know they lost some people to some big name schools, but still, who'd you see? Who'd you like out there for Martinsburg? And I mean, I might be asking a dumb question here, but do you think they can run it back to the state championship?
Well, a couple players that stood out. Braxton Todd, he was a running back. I think he's about 6'2" and about 200 pounds. And I mean, he was just powerful runner. He is verbally committed to Bowling Green. They had a sophomore cornerback. Kid's name was Sherando Musgrove, and that kid was just incredible that he could cover as well as he could, just staying stride for stride with Sherando wide receivers. He really stood out. They had a kid, I believe it was Slack was his last name. He was anything but Slack. He was number 64, Mike. That kid was just all over the field as a defensive lineman, just blowing up plays left and right. So those are three that I kind of distinctly remember. I mean, the quarterback play was solid. It wasn't great. They had a couple of guys. They had good speed on the perimeter. I think Roman Pearson was a wideout. There was the Clement brothers. One's a quarterback, one's a wide receiver. They did a lot for him. But yeah, I definitely think they got a shot to go to the States and win it. I mean, you know, the tradition that they've got, I mean, they're not going to be shell shocked. They're not going to be, there's no stage fright going to be there. So I definitely think they got a chance because they're so experienced with it. So I definitely think they got a chance to go back and win. They couldn't win last year because basically the whole playoffs got canceled. They were going to play a quarterfinal game against Bridgeport. This is according to the Winchester Star, and it got canceled. So couldn't go any further than that. That would have been if they'd have won the States last year, Josh, it would have been 5 years in a row.
Wow.
They had won. So, but.
So my next question, looking at Sherando, this is your first time seeing Sherando, and it seems like they have a lot of youth to work with to build the program with. Who'd you like from Sherando watching them?
Mike?
They had a real good wide receiver. I can't remember his name.
AJ Santiago?
Yeah, Santiago had a lot of speed. He every time the ball was thrown to him, he had pretty decent sized steps on their cornerbacks, even Rod Musgrove there. And I think they did get a big play on him one time. And he stood out to me. Again, a lot of the names are kind of leaving me there just from today. His name's quarterback, spot on most of the time. He had really accurate arm, really good balls, a lot of good balls thrown. Again, it's just, they just struggled with that defensive line from Martinsburg. I mean, those are just really big, aggressive guys, really powerful, and just trying to keep that quarterback safe. It was a struggle. So, in a game like that, it's kind of hard to see standout players from Sherando, when they're just getting pounded like that. But, their seniors are definitely, number 44, Lillis, going both ways. He's another standout. He was involved in a lot of defensive plays, making good tackles, just being where he needs to be, making good reads, and a lot of good plays on offense too. And you could just tell he was kind of beaten down at the end of the game, just kind of walking back to the sideline. It's tough. You're just doing all you can, especially you're going both ways. You can only do so much as one player on an 11-man squad. So yeah, it's, they got a lot of work to do. First year coach, we talked a lot about that. So just got to build on what they got.
So Sherando falling to Martinsburg 58-7. Let's talk about the next game. Saturday, Handley's home opener against the Spotswood Trailblazers in their first ever meeting. I was able to attend that game, and it seemed like sort of a decent low-scoring game, like the first half of the first quarter. Then you have a guy named Stephen Daly. And I mean, the guy looks like a tank. I mean, straight up. He plays both sides of the football. You can't bring him down. Dan, we talked about it last week. I mean, the kid is impressive. I really liked what I saw out of Stephen Daly. I mean, there were some other key players from Handley that are escaping my mind, but still, Stephen Daly rushed for almost 200 yards in that game, if not more, if I remember correctly. And what a great football game by Handley, nonetheless, beating Spotswood 48-6. But I mean, the highlight of the day right there is Stephen Daly, because he's playing both sides of the football. There was a run up the sideline for Spotswood, and Stephen Daly's there to make the tackle. So he's playing both sides of the football. He's a commit to Kent State. What a great overall day for Daly.
Yep, 3 touchdowns. I had him for 211 yards. He had at least 1 sack, maybe 2. He had a forced fumble that led to a score on the very next play. I mean, he's just a force, and it's great to see. He's also a really good student, from what I hear. He's got a 3.6 GPA. Got his head on straight. So, he's one of those kids that he's doing everything that the coaches want him to do, and probably a little bit more. That's they're riding the Daly wave, if you will. But they've got some other athletes too that are really doing good. I think the quarterback's getting better and better. Davion Butler. Duffy is a good, solid wide receiver, number 17, Jacob Duffy. They got some size up on the line, and years past, that's been their challenge, that they just haven't had any size at all. But they got a kid, right tackle Ian Miller, I think he's listed about 6'2", about 260. Rodney Davenport is about 260. He's a really good wrestler. So, he's got good fundamentals of, getting out and getting his hands on people. So, they're definitely putting things together early on, and they're taking advantage. You can only play who you got on the schedule. So they've scored, they've allowed 12 points, and I think they've scored, 48 and 38. That's 86 points.
Man.
And then you got 48 today. So that's 134 points in 3 games. So again,
That's
those
crazy.
are great teams, but hey, you can only play who's on your schedule. So they're 3-0.
Mike, let me get your thoughts on Stephen Daly. How'd you like him?
Oh yeah, fun to watch him today. Heard a lot about him since before we kind of started doing this. Before week 1, I've just been hearing his name, so it was awesome to see him play today. And when you see a guy out there playing running back, and then you see him just bigger than everybody, it's like you're thinking like, oh yeah, we got a guy here, man. This guy's gonna do big things. So, just first quarter, I think they gave him the ball like once or twice, and then didn't get too much off his first carry, but it's just like the second, third carry, you're just really seeing him put the work in. You give him the ball, he's just, I don't know what the percentage would be of him scoring, but I'm sure it's high every time he's got the ball. So yeah, what a player, what an honor to get to see such an athlete. And a lot of good players too on Handley, a lot of other good players. I talked earlier today about number 2 there, Ferguson, and he's only a junior. He's got a good size too. I think he's 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. Had a good game. He's got some speed and agility too. Definitely another player to watch. But yeah, I love being out there at the Handley Bowl. It was a great day, beautiful weather. It was awesome.
Nonetheless, just off topic for a little bit. The Handley Bowl on a Saturday afternoon, there's nothing better. It's just a great atmosphere to be at. I absolutely love the stadium. I haven't been there in maybe 3 years, and I was like, man, the Fox Sports 1550.iheart.com crew is out there, so why don't I make an appearance? But nonetheless, that stadium's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's there's nothing like it when it comes to high school football, at least.
Yeah.
It's I don't think there's any other high schools that play on a Saturday, not that I can think of. I mean, I'm I know it's like a light situation, but yeah, what a great atmosphere. It's great.
Yeah, we all gotta get some bikes, Mike, and start riding up to the top of Handley with good old Dan. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm down. A bicycle or a longboard, anything with wheels, man. I'll ride it.
All right.
One more thing about Daly, and Mike mentioned it a few times today, that somebody taught him to use the stiff arm, and man, that thing is lethal.
Oh my gosh.
You
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a weapon.
like, get off of me, I'm gone.
Yeah. So the last game we're gonna briefly touch on Harrisonburg 14, Millbrook 12. Millbrook's 0-3 if memory serves right.
Yep.
And Millbrook has been up there with Sherando in years past. Seems like they're slipping off too.
Yeah, they've had some good kids in that program. I mean, Savon Smith is at Richmond. Isaac Brown is at Richmond. Richmond is a good FCS program. I mean, you can't just be anybody and go to that school. So, again, there's going to be some years, unless you're Martinsburg, by the way, but there's going to be some years where you're a little, you just, for whatever reason, whether it's chemistry, it could be talent, a combination of things. And, Josh Haymore will not quit working, their head coach. He's going to keep them up. He's going to keep going. He's a great motivator. He's going to keep them going. So, but they're just, off to a tough start. They were led that throughout that game. It was 12-7 starting the fourth quarter. And I guess they just couldn't get any more points because they ended up losing at 14-12. But just a tough start for Millbrook, but they'll keep fighting.
Mike, anything to add there?
Just to go back to week one when we watched Millbrook, they had a lot of mistakes. That's kind of what hurt them there, and even Jefferson too, just a little shaky. First game, a little bit expected there, but we haven't seen Millbrook since, so I'm not too sure how they're dealing with those mistakes now. I mean, I guess that was just kind of the big thing that we saw week one, and that was the adjustment we thought they had to make. So hopefully they can make that adjustment. We'll see.
All right. So the finals once again: James Wood over Pulaski. Sorry, Dan, if I butcher that again. 34-33. Harrisonburg over Millbrook, 14-12. Martinsburg over Sherando, 58-7. Handley over Spotswood, 48-6, with a Clark County bye week. Gentlemen, one more thing. NFL starts tomorrow. Give me one team you think will win and why.
Mike?
Oh, man. I had a team Thursday night, but they didn't win. I think the Vikings are going to win. That's my team. That's the game I'm going to be watching. And, that's always how it goes. I watch them week one, week two, until they start doing bad. And then I kind of just give up. So, yeah, I'm taking Vikings against the Bengals, Joe Burrow. Thinking Kirk Cousins is going to come out firing, hopefully.
Dan, I'm sure you don't think the Lions are going to win, are they?
No, I honestly don't. So I'm not gonna pick that game. I would say the Rams are going to beat the Bears, just because the Bears, Andy Dalton, they promised him the starting job, so I guess that's why part of the reason he came there. So Matt Nagy's kind of, going to let him start at least one game, I guess. But I just don't think they've got enough offensive firepower to beat the Rams. And we'll see about Matthew Stafford. Lots of yards, but no playoff wins when he was with Detroit, and everybody's thinking he's just going to take him to the Super Bowl. I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. But I do think the Rams will be too much for the Bears. That's tomorrow night. So.
All right. Well, you heard it from the Buffalo Wild Wings broadcast booth, Dan Gloster and Mike Optoff. Mike, it was great to have you on here for the first time with myself and Dan Gloster, excuse me. I'm just praying, I'm hoping and praying that during your tenure in the Buffalo Wild Wings broadcast booth, you will get to experience a good Lordy wow in person.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's fine with me. I've heard it from the board, so I can go along happy with that.
Yeah.
If it never happens.
I have that audio and I found a way to actually snip it in to the video of the Handley buzzer beater, and it actually sounds pretty darn good.
So Mike, you were the board op that night?
I believe so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I've heard you say it a few times.
Well,
it's
that I was that crazy, but that was the Handley Valley, Loudon Valley State, I guess,
semifinal
game. Yeah.
One of the best calls I've ever heard you do.
Maybe state. What was it, state quarterfinal or was it semifinal? Was it the semis? I guess. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to have a good game for that to actually happen. So yeah, hopefully coming up here we'll get one. Sooner or later we're going to get one, Mike. So don't despair. We'll have a good game at some point.
So we're not sure if Mike can make it next week, but you will hear me and Dan Gloster next week recapping the next week of high school football games as Dan and Mike travel to the pit in Inwood, West Virginia, as Musselman faces Sherando. First time seeing Musselman this season, second time seeing Sherando this season. Do you have kind of a preview or anything?
Just hoping that Sherando kind of gets well this week, and Santiago, they could definitely use him. He went out of that game against Martinsburg. Hopefully he'll be back. But Musselman lost to they lost to Martinsburg in week 2, 56-14. It was I guess it was 35-14 at half. So they actually scored a couple of touchdowns on Martinsburg, which that's for Sherando, it was tough to get one, but so I'm sure it's going to be a tough game for Sherando, but that's about all that I would say about it. And hopefully Sherando gets Santiago back, and hopefully they can get a win on the road. It's not going to be easy though.
All right. So once again, for Mike Optoff and Dan Gloster, I'm Josh Kirby. This has been another production of High School Sports Talk, each and every week recapping the week that was in high school football. You can check them out, www.foxsports1550.iheart.com, as next week they travel to the pit in Inwood as Musselman faces Sherando. Gentlemen, hopefully we will see you all next week. Once again, check out my podcast. Once again, www.kirbyonsports.com. And until next time, so long.